All right, we're doing a quick one today because I have got some plans and I forgot to record a video earlier, but I think this ought to be an interesting one because it is a quick one that was played on a map that is well known for not exactly featuring the quickest of brawls here. It's a high-level match that's going to be showcasing All That Glitters is Gold. Well, actually, technically just All That Glitters version 2.1, but spawning on the southwestern side. And representing the blue team is an Armada commander with a very high true skill of 45. My goodness. Goes by the name of MBT. A acronym, if you know, you know, but MBT, going to be representing the blue team here, going into a mixed economy right off the bat. I am curious to see just exactly why the replay timer was so short for this match. Spawning on the other side of the map goes by the name of JTL. JTL, 39 true skill here, silver chevrons as well. We've got a lot of experience between these two teams here. Definitely a little more experience and a couple more names that I recognize over on the blue side of things, but there's still some memorable names. A Polygon here, Volshock here as well, Aiden Knott, we've definitely seen around a couple of times. Some big names over on both sides, some definite heavy hitters. I'm excited to see what these players do to smash heads and ultimately end this game around the 18-minute mark. That's not a spoiler, right? You can check the length of the video, right? It's a very, very quick match, and that was part of the reason why I was so curious about it. I've talked about this before, but oftentimes the two conditions that I check whenever I'm looking at replays that look interesting, just things that pique my interest. I'm more than happy to cast any game that gets sent on over to the Discord, which there's a link to, by the way, down in the description section. I'm more than happy to take a look at any replay that you feel like submitting, but certainly the ones that pique my interest just a little bit more are the ones that are either played on unconventional maps or the ones that feature high-level players and short play timers, because usually that means something cheeky is avast, you land lovers. Rovers en masse already pumped out right here. Bit Pusher 16 going to be sending, my goodness, quite a few of them. 5 rovers out already to scout. We also have a hot pink rover making its way across the map. We do have a seafoam green scouting plane up in the air as well. Things are looking fabulous for the red team. We do similarly have a couple of ticks moving across the map right here. At the very least, one of them will spy one of the rovers. Yeah, we're only going to find one of them, maybe 2 of them. Air Scout was shot down right here by the anti-air tower from Volshock. Very nicely done. Denying that scouting, really, really useful, especially in these higher level lobbies. I would definitely say that scouting information can be paramount to success. The lack thereof can oftentimes mean the difference between a extremely successful bombing run, obliterating your main facility and leaving you in the Stone Age, versus those bombers maybe not getting as juicy a connection, managing to allow you to recover here. Now, Bit Pusher 16 deflects that tick that went to the backline, scouting at the very least the maroon base, and that's probably just about as good as you're going to expect to get with players this high level. Meanwhile, a couple of rovers over on the right-hand side do manage to push on through. There's just not a significant enough tick force in order to blast these bad boys down. These 4-legged demons trolling their way across the battlefield right here. Yep, they get one of the metal extractors. Oh, and the explosion takes out some of the ticks right there, too. It's a microscopic battle, but a mean one at that. Yeah, rovers blasting away the wind turbines, and that hurts. That hurts quite a lot. Riot Tank eventually cleans most of this up. Oh, a little secondary reinforcement has showed up right here, and down go the wind turbines for L2 Puckle, our lavender player for today. One of my favorite scents since childhood has been lavender. The more you know. You guys get little tidbits of information about me every single one of these casts, and I wonder if somebody's going to put it together into a portfolio one of these days. I know somebody did already. Talked about my desert knowledge as well as some other things. It's pretty interesting to see. I'm always curious about that sort of thing. Who's actually paying attention to these things? If you're one of those likely few, you should probably like the video just to show your support. Always helps me out. I want you guys to know that I get a little notification each and every time somebody likes one of these videos. It tells me exactly who liked it and when. And it's great because it gives me a little endorphin rush. And that's exactly what I live for. We're quite aggressive here on the front line, Bing Bing Bang, pushing pretty far forward with the commander. Aiden Knott matching pace here. Yeah, both commanders basically on the same time frame. I love to see it. Now, it's because of this scout right here. Aiden Knott definitely on top of it with the scouting, making sure to keep this scout in range to know that this commander is marching forward and sending counter ops, aka their own commander, Aiden Knott's own commander, to intercept over here. Contesting that 3.2 is really what we're worried about here. Nicely done. Missile Truck likewise going to be applying a little bit of pressure. It's not a lot, but it is enough to persuade that Cyan commander that maybe this isn't exactly the line that they want to try and push over here. Meanwhile, a couple of blitzes trying to push forward over here. There's already Shuriken up in the air. Very nice. In that series of 2 games that oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that's a spoiler. Maybe that's a spoiler. I'm getting used to that. I'm not used to doing series here, so you'll have to forgive me. Anyway, the 5v5 games, I didn't know it was a series at the time. I thought it was just 2 games. I didn't realize it was a series. Sorry if I just spoiled that for you. I do apologize. But anyway, I believe it was the most recent video. If not that one, then it was a little while back. But it was basically, it was 2 games pulled out of the 5v5 tournament. And it was really, really cool. It was a good series, but we saw mass shuriken as an extremely viable tactic there. I suspect that it's going to become more popular. I've noticed that the more I post about a certain type of strategy, oftentimes it ends up becoming much more popular in the play rounds. I take that as a sincere compliment. On the live servers is what I mean. A mace has been transported up here. That's quite cute. Gonna use it to start firing down at Surimas. That's so annoying to deal with. Obviously, Shellshocker's able to fire back over here, but just about basically everybody else is going to have a really hard time figuring out how to fire back. So yeah, this mace can do a tremendous amount of damage. Yeah, you can see it just on a repeat command right here to just keep moving around, just so that the Shellshockers can't easily target it. That's pretty funny. Big old medium tank ball right here. Yeah, Evolved Monkey in a little bit of trouble. We do have a beamer turret up and running, and that beamer can definitely do a good amount of work if those medium tanks stay in range for a good long time. Obviously, ideally, you don't keep those medium tanks in range of the static defense here for any amount of time, but there we go, 2 tanks down. I mean, was it worth it here for the cost of a beamer turret? What's the cost on one of those? 190 metal versus the 225 per tank. I mean, technically efficient right there. But it does weaken the defenses right now for Evolved Monkey, and it's the power of the unit as opposed to the static defense, is of course that they can move. Evolved Monkey telling on themselves, putting about 4.8 billion pings out into the chats right here. Nice D-gun's gonna cleave apart a lot of those blitzes. Very, very nicely done. Hopefully this green commander can get some backup soon. Oh, there's the shuriken just to put a little bit of salt in the wound. Yeah, that starts to hurt. JTL gonna start reclaiming even the static defenses here. This medium tank ball is looking absolutely devastating. So the play we're going for, this is not a complicated one. This is not a tricky one. This is not a play that is unbeknownst to any player. This is good old-fashioned backline aggression. You can see the medium tank production is just ripping and roaring right here for JTL. We're not going into tech. We're not going into air. We're not going into anything fancy. We're just building enough units to apply a crazy or tremendous, that's what that word ended up being, amount of pressure right there in order to just push back the front lines, and it's worked out quite nice. MBT forced to transport the commander forward. That's the reinforcement that Evolved Monkey was looking for. Pleading ever so desperately for. Will it be enough though? I mean, obviously these commanders are tough and they can put down that D-gun, which can absolutely shut down massive tank armies in 1 or 2 good connections. But that being said, the commanders are quite fragile, and losing one, especially this early into the game, and especially with this much of a committed backline, yeah, it can really start to hurt. You lose that commander, that's 1,250 metal that goes directly into the pockets of your enemy, presumably anyways, assuming the worst of the worst. This medium tank ball though, causing a tremendous headache right here for the for the blue team. Now the strategy doesn't come without its weaknesses, and obviously the biggest weakness being that the blue team is now on the, the red team is now on the clock. The blue team is racing against the clock to get T2 up and running as quickly as possible. We don't have any T2 in the backline. You can see this is all just T1. Normally this player would tech up, and I think that's what we saw, yeah, the blue commander go for. So we have a T2 economy coming up and running right now. But the red backline has absolutely no T2 investment. So they're just planning to win the game with a T1 army, a big old, good old-fashioned medium tank push. It's exactly their plan for today, and I think it's working out phenomenally. Yeah, these medium tanks find a whole bunch of these missile trucks. The missile trucks weren't able to build up in mass quite yet. Shurikens trying their best, but there's missile trucks for the red too. Multiple different colors of armies over here trying to work in tandem. We have yellow, hot pink, red, and now brown, and tan contributing significantly to the fight. Cave Dogs, who are some of the commanders here? Cave Dogs, Aedonaut, we have Volshock, we have JTL, just about everybody, or a good half of the players on the red team, contributing to just this single fight. And obviously, this is a great fight because the commanders are here to support. We have 3 red commanders reclaiming from the wreckages, continuing to pump out units. This is exactly what a coordinated team can do. Organize into mass production, and just like that, we see tanks pushing through and breaking the line. Down goes the production right here for Bing Bing Bang. That lab is toast, as well as the LLTs, metal extractors, wind turbines, energy storages, and just about anything else that the Cyan Commander held near and dear. Somebody's going to have to do something about this. Here's the Fiends. Fiends are out and ready to devastate these T1 medium tanks, but will it be enough? I'm not thinking it will. So many medium tanks, and they have so much HP. Regardless of how much damage you do, it just takes forever to clean up those medium tanks. Down goes one of the commanders on the front right there. I do believe that was I want to say, oh no, okay, I thought it was the blue commander. It turns out it's going to be Evolved Monkey's commander going down. Medium tank still on the back line though, and still being a tremendous nuisance. Down goes production here for Evolved Monkey, as well as all those wind turbines. That's a huge problem. Losing so much energy production, you can see the blue economy is plummeting as the metal extractors start to fall, as the production starts to fall, as everything starts to fall, and as the red team starts reclaiming from every single piece of this map. MBT flying around like a madman, trying desperately to get the commander into position to intercept as many of these medium tanks as possible. It's a nightmare to deal with, and luckily the missile trucks here are just slightly out of position so that the commander doesn't get shot down in its transversal. But I don't believe hope is holding on much longer right here for the red team. You can see the resign vote has already been called. We're praying that this T2 transition from the purple player is going to be enough to get back into this game. Effectively what we need to do: kill the entire T1 army, kill all the forward commanders, reclaim every metal extractor, and immediately start advanced energy production. That is the only golden pathway that secures any sort of future right here for the blue team, and it requires a tremendous amount of coordination because every single player needs to be working towards that exact single concrete goal. And right now I just don't see it. Not enough fiends out on the battlefield. We're starting a more complex composition, but you really can't afford it. You just need more fiends. The problem is you need both. You need the Sheldon here for that long duration, or that long distance high damage output when they're built up in numbers, but you need the fiends to jump on top of all the assault forces here. This is an excellent catch, at the very least shutting down the shell shockers, some of the Janices, and the missile trucks. Clearing up that airspace does mean shurikens can come into play once more, and that can definitely help out with that resurrection of the blue team. But you can see so many metal extractors down right now. This is a nightmare. A beautiful play right here by the red team. Not complicated. Like I said earlier, it's not a complex play. It's not a complicated push. It just takes a little bit of organization, a little bit of team-mindedness. You put it all out on the board, and just like that, more stuff beats less stuff. I definitely say to go ahead and give this one a try on the ladder if you're looking to go for a build that can definitely catch a unsuspecting lobby off guard. Just a whole bunch of medium tanks, everybody producing medium tanks, and eventually you're going to be in a fabulous position. Not moving into the facility over here, sacrificing the commander to bring down one of the enemy commanders here, Grizzly's commander there. Beautiful stuff. We need res bots, we need construction bots going out in teams to rebuild the metal extractors. There's the res bots going to go out and start actually resurrecting things. I don't mind it actually, building a little bit of a standing army to try and fight back against the ever-encroaching waves of the red team. I guess it's almost like a rave, right? Maybe the blue team doesn't feel that way. The red team probably celebrating with the rave. The blue team probably the downstairs neighbor to the rave, wishing that they would be quiet. Big old air collision here too. Air player absolutely on top of it. Looks like it's A Polygon who's building the significant number of forces here for the red team. Building plenty of fighters in order to shoot down any shurikens that might be invading the airspace here of this red push. Using them also to shoot down any fighters over the enemy's air wall, or fighters in the enemy's air wall. But there's a couple of incisors have snuck around over here, and now they're in the back line. Yeah, this is the problem. There's so many forces everywhere on the map that it becomes impossible to discern what angles are safe and what angles aren't. And suddenly you find yourself in a really bad position. These wind turbines could have chain reacted there a little bit better. Target optimization or target priority would have been slightly better. I think you could have gotten a little more value out, but still, that is a very minor critique on an otherwise extremely successful push right here from the red team. The blue team's working on it. The blue team is definitely working on pulling back into this fight. You can see the vision right now is to stabilize and then push forward using that T2 advantage, but the red team obviously is going to have a T2 advantage when they reclaim all this metal, and when they decide to transition to T2, it'll be almost instantaneous using the corpses of the enemies, as opposed to the blue team, who has to essentially pay for it either with their own corpses or out of whatever metal they've produced with that T2 economy here. It's a lose-lose fight for the blue team because either one of those options is less efficient than the red team's, which is simply trading their units for more metal than they put in initially. That's not to say I don't love these big medium tank battles, though. Wailing away on each other until eventually only one color remains. JTL's commander is awfully far forward here, though. Wouldn't be too hard to snipe that with a whole bunch of medium tanks, although then again, you do have to be quite careful about those D-guns. Obviously, the main threat of the commander is the D-gun. We're ready to seal the deal. Bombers coming in hot. It's a bunch of T1 whirlwinds, but T1 is really all you need if you're playing as Cortex. There go the bombers targeting down the air player. One of the nice things about this map, or maybe one of the not so nice things about this map, is that you know exactly who's going to be playing in what location about 99% of the time. Almost guaranteed every single time that the air player is going to be playing here. Means that if you're going to be going for a bombing run, you know exactly who and where to bomb in order to knock out that air player's production and keep your bombers completely safe in the backline right here. Fighters trying to fire away at the ground right there, it did look like. Bombers here are going to be quite a bit more effective, I do believe. Taking out a bunch of the wind turbines, just devastating the blue economy. That wind energy was the only thing holding any sort of a chance in here, as well as all these advanced solar panels that went down. With those collapsing, you can see the blue economy is crippled nearly 3 times both energy and metal for the red team as they've marched forward, claiming all these mexes right here. Have we gone T2? We have, okay. It's important that you do go T2. Continuing your T1 push here is actually become inefficient. You can become, wow, that was a terrible, terrible sentence. You can tell I'm in a rush, huh? Is become inefficient. A slight addendum to that sentence. You can make it, you can suddenly shoot yourself in the foot if you continue producing T1 units, and then suddenly you find yourself up against a full-fledged T2 economy with T2 units. The efficiency suddenly flips, and then you no longer have an efficient fight right there. And you actually end up losing metal value at that point. So you have to be careful about that you do eventually transition. But once you do, you find yourself in a fabulous, fabulous position. Literally, you have a fabulous position out of the map, as well as far as general strategy goes, both of which secured very nicely. And we are ready to seal the deal on this southern side. Lightning tanks accompanying a whole bunch of blitzes, sort of same role in a different technological era. Pushing forward here with those tanks for heavy fire support, and I do mean heavy, 950 metal apiece. I like to always emphasize for the bull. Extremely costly, but also extremely powerful. Down goes the air player, taps out of the game, leaving not but the purple and the blue really left in the match. Technically Evolved Monkey hanging on by a bare thread here as well, but the economy is collapsing more and more every day. Medium tanks running into the backline, and this is the problem when you're just going up against medium tanks. Unless you're using precisely the right unit, aka the Fiend, you don't just have the sheer DPS to shut down tanks. You have the damage over time vis-a-vis the Sheldon, but you don't have the raw DPS unless you're going for those assault units. Sprinters would be the Armada counterpart, although a little bit less powerful than the Fiend in many respects. There we go. Blue player, green player, everybody taps out of the game except for Paradise Lost, who I guess just either walked away from the keyboard here or just wants to see it out to the very end. There we go. Finally, it resigns from the match, and it will be the red team with overwhelming team coordination and just a solid plan to eventually manage to seize victory in this rapid onset game of Beyond All Reason. I know it's a quick one, but I sure hope you appreciated it either way. I know I sure did. Love watching the pros go head-to-head because they can whip out these strategies seemingly from left field. Really doesn't take all too much, but a little bit of coordination early game, but it can certainly have impressive results, and I'm always a big fan of watching it. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the very next cast of Beyond Our Reason, or the live streams, 12 PDT, Tuesdays and Saturdays, by the way. Humble plug right there, just in case you're interested in a live audience interactive experience. But I'll let you go, and I will see you in the very next one. Peace out, everybody.